Hello and welcome to the No Huddle Podcast. I apologize for this coming out one day late. I had to lock in for finals, bring home, some passable. But anyways, as soon as I got back, I had that final today. We locked in. We started prepping for the pod. And my goodness, what a week of football we have to talk about. I love this year, man. Let me just start with that. I feel like every time, it's never a drag for me to come on here and talk about football for the week because there's always so much interesting stuff happening. I feel like in years past, we've had a dud week here. We've had a dud week there. But this year, it feels like every week something insane is happening. And let's just say there was absolutely no exception to that. I come in on NFL Sunday, I'm like, okay, these are the games I'm probably going to talk about. I'm going to take focus on them. And then every time I'm wrong. And it's like, well, shoot, we have these three other random games that somehow became more interesting. But I think for the first time in a long time on this show, we're not opening by talking about a game here. We are opening by talking about Philip freaking Rivers and the Colts having a new grandfather quarterback. So obviously on Sunday, Daniel Jones tore his Achilles in what was I thought we were done with quarterback injuries for the year. Hold on, I'm going to knock on wood when I say that. But hopefully this desk is wood. I thought we were done with quarterback for the injuries for the year. It feels like, Burrow went down and then Purdy went down for 2 months. And, Lamar has been dealing with this thing, but it felt like, we didn't have that big catastrophic quarterback injury besides those two. And, it sucks because every time you forget about it, it feels like, here it comes, right as soon as you think you're safe. And Daniel Jones suffers a torn Achilles. Mind you, he'd already been playing on a fractured fibula. That news came out earlier in the week. That he had a broken freaking leg and he was going out there I'll be fine. And by the way, if you watched the beginning of that game, you could tell his mobility was so much more limited. My God, Daniel Jones, that was always a big positive of him. Is he was very sneaky athletic. Sorry to phrase it like that, but you could tell something was off with his leg. And then, I've had a few knee injuries myself. I know this isn't a knee injury, but what I'd say is there's such a tendency for you're favoring one leg, you're trying not to put so much weight on it, and then that just leads to injuries on your other side. That happens all the time, but this is just unlucky. He popped his Achilles. That's just being unlucky twice in a row. That's brutal. And it sucks for Daniel Jones. This is a contract year. He was on a 1 year, $14 million contract. He was going to get paid. I hope the Colts still do pay him because I'm going to be honest, I don't know what the hell else they would do at the quarterback spot. So maybe not as big of a payday as he should get, but he's going to hopefully at least get paid at the end of this, maybe by the Colts, maybe by some other team. But with that being said, again, hopefully Daniel Jones recovers well from this because it was really, really nice to see his career resurgence. And once the offseason starts coming up, hopefully we can, look back at this and this really positive story of Daniel Jones turning his career around. Everyone had left him for dead. He goes to the Vikings for 5 games as the backup, learns there, and he comes in this Colts offense with an insanely talented running back, a great play caller, a great head coach. And it's we finally see what Daniel Jones could be. And we see the potential of the offense. The Colts start off 8-2. But and it just goes away like that. And that's the reality of football more than any other sport. It's everything can look so good and it gets instantly ripped from you. Even though the Colts were on we're on a skid. I was still confident enough in the Colts for them to get out of their funk and find a way. But with this Daniel Jones injury, that is brutal. Riley Leonard comes in for the game because Anthony Richardson, if you don't know, which I'll be honest, I did not, he has a orbital fracture in his eye. Well, he has a broken eye socket, at least that's what I think that means. I'm not a doctor, but he was warming up with an exercise band and the band snapped back at him and hit his eye 2 months ago. And his recovery timeline is TBD. We don't know. We don't know if he'll be back this season. Which is crazy. How does that happen? And apparently this was the same pregame warm-up where Charvarius Ward got hit by his own guy and suffered his first concussion. And then now he has been in the protocol 2 more times and just got put on IR today because he suffered his third. So I don't know where that ranks historically in the worst pregame warm-ups of all time, but that's got to be high up there. Yeah, so anyways, Anthony Richardson isn't an option. Riley Leonard comes in, plays decently well. I actually thought it wasn't bad. Of course, I'm not seeing it is he the next Brock Purdy? No, I think hopefully we never have to say that sentence again after Max Prosmer's debut. But Riley Leonard, looks solid enough, but then now he has a knee injury because the Jacksonville defensive line was getting to him all game. So in comes Grandpa Philip Rivers, who is literally 44, which would make him by far the oldest player in the NFL. Now that, of course, Brady's gone a few years ago, and Vinatieri was gone a few years ago. So yeah, this is the biggest unk we've had outside of Aaron Rodgers, and he's got full 2 years on Aaron Rodgers. So Philip Rivers has not played since 2020. If you were curious, I don't know how relevant these are to you now, but when he was playing 5 years ago, it was in the pandemic. That's why he opened up his press conference with, it's nice to not be on Zoom, because that was his reality when he was last on quarterback. You couldn't really step outside. That was a time, where I started just watching film because I didn't know what the hell else to do. So that way, I learned a lot during that time. He had 4,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, 11 picks, solid quarterback rating, his last year in Indy, and he was pretty good. Led that Colts team to 11-5 to the playoffs. Their head coach was Frank Reich, which is crazy. That's an insane pull, who has bounced around in more than a few teams at this point. And his OC was Nick Sirianni. Oh my God. What are these names that we're pulling out? The owner of the Colts at the time was Jim Irsay, who recently passed away. Absurd. We are looking at a completely different era of football. It's a time when Patrick Mahomes had one ring. I would love if that was still the case. But no, he had to beat my team in the Super Bowl. But besides the point, sorry, Patrick Mahomes gives me some PTSD. Yeah, it's completely different. And now he just comes back out. And there's real talk of him playing in Seattle on Sunday, which is 4 days from now when I'm recording this. Are you kidding me? This has got to be the most insane story I've heard in a long freaking time. And in a year where we've had just so many absurd stories, this takes me back to the days of 2022 when Antonio Brown was up to doing crazy shit. And it's oh, you're checking your phone. You're are you kidding me? I saw that phone and I'm oh, Adam Schefter. I got baited. I read it for the first time. I'm oh, real funny. Real funny, Twitter. Okay, cool. You gave me some fake news. All right. And then I read it back and I'm wait, Schefter is spelled right. Wait, he has a blue check mark. Click the count. Wait, you have 18 million followers. Wait a minute. That seems to be kind of accurate. Yeah, Philip Rivers. Apparently they had a pre-workout with him, or a workout with him. It went pretty well. Apparently he knows Steichen's offense because that's a very similar offense to the one he runs for his kid in high school that he coaches. I don't know. I have no idea how this is going to work out. No one knows. If anyone in the media claims oh, this is a horrible move or this is an amazing move, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about and you can turn it off. I have no idea how this is going to work. None of us do. This is going to be insane because it is so hard. This is a point I've been making the last few weeks, right? As JJ McCarthy, or 9, has been getting shit on the last few weeks. And as Shedeur started playing a bit, and he was getting shit on and then praised, and then getting shit on again, and then getting praised because of Shedeur Sanders. So no one can ever have just one opinion on him. It's I talked about how hard it is for young QBs to transition at this point because the way they teach the game in high school, college is so much more different than the way they're teaching or the way you need to play in the NFL. It is an insane transition, the likes of which I cannot remember there being a harder one, at least throughout NFL history. It is absurdly difficult to learn the quarterback position right now. So instead of trying some random young guy or, maybe trusting Riley Leonard, I don't hate them getting a veteran. Do I kind of hate that it's Philip Rivers and not Taylor Heineke? I get that it's past the trade deadline, so that also definitely has something to play with it. Otherwise, yeah, you 100% call up the Bengals for Joe Flacco. But that's not an option. I don't think the Bengals are going to cut him out of the kindness of their heart. Yeah, Philip Rivers, why not? And I think the story that a lot of people have forgotten in all of this is that 3 years ago, when the Niners had their quarterback conundrum, I don't know how else to put it, in 2022. Of course, we had Trey Lance was a starter. He went down, suffered a fractured ankle, done for the year. Jimmy G breaks his foot, done for the year. And in that moment, they called Philip Rivers, and they're hey, just letting you know, we would be potentially interested in you because we have this kid named Brock Purdy, who's the last pick of the draft. We like him a lot, but we don't know how this is going to work out. So, hey, we're just going to give you a call. Let us know, start learning some of the installs. We potentially want to have you in here. Then Brock Purdy goes out week 14 in Tampa and has one of the most electric rookie debuts I can ever remember. I think people forget just how absurd he was in that game. That was a huge game. Tampa was a pretty solid team at the time. They had Tom. And Purdy went out there and cooked. To this day, I don't know what the hell got into him. He hasn't necessarily played that way in a while, where it's just aggressive deep shots outside the numbers over and over again. Because Tampa kept daring him to beat them deep, and he just did it every time. It was an absurd game. He was hitting swim moves. Anyways, we got distracted. But yeah, and then Philip Rivers didn't end up coming over, right? And then there was talks of once Purdy went down in this championship game, that's when we first got rumors of, hypothetically, if the Niners somehow beat the Eagles or had beaten the Eagles, we would have called Philip Rivers, right? And it would have came out of retirement, and his first game back would have been the Super Bowl against Kansas City. That would have been the greatest story in NFL history. But instead, the Eagles wax us, in large part to the refs. And we never see that play out. And now, 2 years later, we get Philip Rivers back in the NFL. Absurd. I just wanted to touch on that story because I think some people are forgetting that happened. And we should not forget that happened. This is not the first time Philip Rivers has almost come back. This is absurd. I love it. I love it so much. He is an old school freaking gunslinger quarterback. Talks shit, like insane amounts of shit too. And he has like 15 kids. So, I wouldn't trust him to pull the ball out. All I'm saying, okay, I'm sorry. That was a really dumb joke. I love it. I love it so much because, hey, it makes the Colts interesting. The Colts are a team I have actually talked about on this podcast a few times, or more than a few times, just because I've come out in defense of them, right? At the beginning, we had a lot of people shitting on Indy, and I didn't see a reason for them to. It was like, oh, I just don't see it with Daniel Jones. Oh, I just don't see it, yada, yada. Hell, I made an argument for John Taylor being the MVP after that Falcons game where he was absurd. And now it sucks because the Colts trade all their first-round picks, and everyone's calling them dumb for something that's out of their control. So I like the fact that I like this. Makes them interesting. Makes them really interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to when my Niners play them on Monday Night Football. That'll be fun. I am a little bit concerned about Philip Rivers surviving this game, just a touch, against Seattle with that insane interior pass rush. But hopefully they keep him upright, because if they can keep him upright, I'm going to be honest, he probably can still sling that ball. It's Philip Rivers. Like, he was really good 5 years ago. He can be a fat as hell. He can not move in the pocket. As long as he gets rid of that ball in 2 seconds and puts his little zip on it. It can work. It can work. I'm not going to say whether it can or can't work because God knows. But hey, it's better than nothing. Anyways, moving off that, I just had to talk about that. Like, when I first saw the news, I wanted to run up and record so badly, but if it weren't for stupid finals. Anyways, moving on. We have Monday night. I didn't think I was going to come on here and talk about this game. This was one of those games where it's like, it's technically a big matchup, but whatever, I've said my piece on the Eagles, the Chargers, whatever. I mean, I could talk about them a bit, but there's not much to say there. But no, this game ended up being insane. Not in the good way. 8 turnovers. Eight turnovers, with the last one being a game-ending pick from Jalen Hurts to put him up to 5 turnovers on the day. And the top question I have here is, what the fuck is happening in Philadelphia? Because I have come on here on this podcast a few times and said, some ain't right in Philly. I've said that OC is dog shit. Kevin Patullo said that a million times. My God, I've said that so many times. But what I will say is, up until last week, I wasn't necessarily putting blame on Jalen Hurts. I was saying that offensive play calling is really bad. That offensive line is taking a step back. Saquon Barkley is clearly taking a step back. And now that take started to become more popular, so I want a little bit of credit for that. Anyways, yeah, the O-line's not playing the way it used to. They're getting horrible play calling, and that they still are. But, A.J. Brown's a freaking diva, but I think that we knew that one. But now, you're now getting on top of that, the insane amounts of turnovers from Jalen Hurts. And last week against the Bears, he had an interception, which was really bad. Saw that one on film. Yikes. And then he had the tush push debacle where they tried to run a tush push and he got the ball stripped from him. And the other team got a huge turnover. The Bears were kind of out of that game, if you remember at that point. It looked like the Eagles had all the momentum, and then Jalen Hurts had a catastrophic turnover. So this was a huge game for them heading into the Chargers game. They needed this game. Not because they need it for the division. They're probably still going to win the division because the Cowboys lost that game to Detroit. If they somehow beat Detroit, oh my God, this game would have been even so much worse. But they didn't beat Detroit, so yeah, they're probably fine. But as far as the playoffs go, but at some point you need it for morale. I saw they brought in a positivity balloon or something, whatever the hell that was. I was trying to look at the tweet to see what the hell it was. I don't know what the hell they brought in. Apparently they brought it in before the game to up the vibes, but then the vibes balloon didn't work, so now it's just gone. Where's the vibes balloon? Can I bid on the vibes balloon? Can I buy the vibes balloon? I'm curious. I mean, I want to see if it was good vibes or bad vibes. Anyways, I don't know why I'm making so many dumb jokes today, but yeah, Hurts now 5 turnovers. Are you kidding? And if you watch them, it's not like, maybe this guy dropped that ball. No, they were just awful. They were really, really bad turnovers. Of course, he had the one, the double turnover play, which Jalen Hurts in this week, I needed him in fantasy. I was winning in the playoffs, and he gave me negative 5 points on one play. I think he finished with 0.4 on the day, so that's unfortunate. But Jalen Hurts goes out there, throws a pick to a defensive tackle who dropped in coverage, who wasn't like necessarily, he wasn't sneaky. He wasn't, he drops out last second. Like, no, he was just chilling in the zone. And then Jalen Hurts threw the ball to him because the Chargers ran a lot of sim pressures in that game. By the way, sim pressure means that they rush four, but they don't rush like the front four. So like in that case, a defense tackle drops back and a corner rushes or a linebacker rushes, right? So it's technically still four guys, but it's a simulated pressure, as in like the quarterback thinks it's a blitz. So if you didn't know what sim pressure meant, yeah. We had that one, and then somehow, by God's grace, he has the ball back in his hands, Jalen Hurts, because the guy, the defense tackle, thinks he's Marshawn Lynch and he fumbles the ball. Which, how does that happen every freaking time a defense tackle gets the ball in your hands? Look, I'm not saying get down. Like, this is technically like your once-in-a-lifetime moment to go try and score a touchdown, and every defensive tackle treats it that way. But God, man, hold on to the ball. Please hold on to the ball. There's the amount of times that happens for no reason. Anyways, yeah, he gets the ball back in his hands, and then he has like a good second to either tuck the ball away, get on something. That he looks like he's trying to tuck and run again, and then gets the ball punched out. That was a mess and a half. And of course, you had two other interceptions, with one of them being like a literal throw to Dante Jackson, which was awful. And then you have, of course, the coup de grace. I was watching the game with a few buddies of mine. We get to overtime, and it's like, wow, Jalen Hurts is actually moving this ball really well, because the Chargers got 3 on their last possession. And I remember literally saying, Jalen Hurts had an awful game, but he is playing great in overtime. This is great to see. He's playing great football. He was picking up conversions with his legs. He was throwing really nice passes to the point where I was like, okay, Jalen. I want to say they converted like 2 third and longs on that too. I was like, Jalen Hurts playing what? That's what winners do. I love to see that. You love to see that comeback. But my God, that last pick was so bad. It was so bad. Granted, it was a really nice play by the corner. I think it was Cam Hart who dropped back in the zone, played his zone really well. Jalen Hurts did not see it at all. Granted, it would have been a tight window to throw for just absolutely no reason. And tipped up and picked. It was by Tony Jefferson, who was 9,000 years old, who made a really nice play. I know, it's frustrating. It's frustrating to watch, because now Philadelphia media is saying that, do you need to bench Jalen Hurts? That is real questions that were asked. Philadelphia Inquirer wrote an article saying they potentially need a bench for Tanner McKee. Nick Sirianni was asked about that. And I don't think benching Jalen Hurts is the answer. I'm going to go on a limb. Probably not the right thing to do. You can say, yeah, this offense is a Jalen Hurts problem. I was giving a ton of flack in the Bears game, because I was saying that with Jalen Hurts, you only get the short throws or the deep ball. That is it. And it seems like he is just trying to protect his stats. You get nothing but checkdowns if they're wide open, or one-on-one deep balls where you're just hoping that A.J. Brown gets a step or Devontae Smith gets a step. Whatever. No, like, ever tight window throws. And I was talking about how much that was hampering this offense, right? But that the response to that is not to go out there and throw 5 turnovers and throw 4 picks. All of them trying to throw in some one-time windows, sometimes just missing a guy and it being a really easy interception. I don't know if you remember, he should have had 5 interceptions, because he threw one over Devontae Smith or AJ Brown, I'm not sure which one, threw it 10 yards over their head, and the safety was able to bend down and get it. But the thing is, it was such a bad pass that the safety couldn't bend down low enough to get it. It was one of the worst games I've ever seen him play. And look, if you want to say, shut up, Niners fan, yada, yada, I get it. I can't talk. If you want to just say I'm a biased person, sure. But I have done some caping for Hurts this year. I've said that, even though I think he's making these mistakes, there are other issues on this team. But you can't do that, man. It was brutal. Absolutely freaking brutal. And any Eagles fan who's just saying it's Patullo, which I've been getting in my comments all year. Kevin Patullo. And again, I was one of the first people, at least first people on these, I don't know, the podcast, take machine, whatever. I check my phone, to see who's had certain takes or whatever, because I don't want to steal anybody's take. And I was one of the first people to meet on, this play calling for Patullo is just dog shit and it's not going to work and they need to fire him. I think I said that week 5. And it's not, but the thing is, it's not just Patullo. It really is not. They were even trying to call some in breakers for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I saw a few of those. I'm like, okay, Jalen Hurts throwing the ball 10 to 20 yards down the field. Okay, that's new. That doesn't happen. And you know what? Maybe it's the first time that those get introduced. We have the 4 interception game. So I want to also have a conversation about Nick Sirianni. Because Nick Sirianni, he doesn't, on Sunday, it does not feel like he has a job, right? He has an OC, in this case, Patullo, or last year's Kellen Moore. On the defensive side of the ball, his coordinator is Vic Fangio for the last 2 years. And so his job is mostly twofold. One, go find his coordinators that are going to run their offensive and defense as well. Sure. Did an amazing job of that last year. Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. Again, no idea how much it's on Nick Sirianni. No idea how much of it was Howie Roseman. But to be nice, I'll say that was a great pick. Those were great picks by Sirianni. But every time he has gone in-house, it has been a disaster. No way around it. I'm not sure if Steichen was in-house, but that was like 4 years ago. Because now, Patullo is god-awful. And of course you have Vic Fangio, who, is still Vic Fangio, still pretty good. But he was an offensive-minded guy. That he got hired as an OC from the Colts. Remember we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast how he was Phillip Rivers' OC. And Sirianni is, if your one job is to pick coordinators, and you're already half failing at that, and the other guy you picked was like the most obvious hire ever, legendary DC Vic Fangio, sure. But your second job is probably, hey, we need to get some leadership in here, right? We need to have good vibes. Same way Dan Campbell Lions. The Lions were freaking 1-10 when Dan Campbell first took over. You know what they still had? Good vibes. And yet the Philadelphia vibes are dog shit. Every year. Even last year when they won the Super Bowl. 5 games in, it was a mess. That ended up getting fixed because they won 14 straight games. So, and you know what? People didn't really care about the vibes anymore. And A.J. Brown could read a book and pout on the sideline. Who cares? You won a Super Bowl. But it seems like anytime there's not an insane amount of winning, the vibes just get immediately destroyed. So I ask, what the hell does he do? Just no way around it. What does he do? He has that fat freaking security guard that walks around to the side of him, Big Dom, whatever he is. I've always hated that guy since the Dre Greenlaw thing because he put his hands on an NFL player as a security guard. As a freaking meatball security guard, he put his hands on an NFL player. Never understand that. But yeah, is his job to go chat it up with his buddy on the sideline? What do you do? There is some talk of Nick Sirianni is going to be more involved in the offensive game plan this year. Won't fire Patullo, but he'll be more involved in the offensive game plan. Cool. How did that offensive game plan work out? Because outside of a fake tush push, which they can't even run anymore because the other teams just keep punching the ball out. So they run a fake, and that goes for a touchdown. That was good. They put up 12 points, including overtime. So clearly, whenever he gets involved on offense is not particularly good. He is a baffling coach to me. And there were Eagles fans that would die on the hill that he was like a top 5, top 10 head coach after last year and winning the Super Bowl. And when he won the Super Bowl, I got to be honest, my opinion on him did not change. He is just horrible. You best head coaches in the league, right? Sean McVay is an insane play caller, always has the team with good vibes, clearly is involved in player personnel, and you see how the Rams, even after going all in and giving up those draft picks, had a 2-year turnaround. Stafford's probably is the favorite to win MVP. So obviously he's great. Kyle Shanahan, insane play caller. You look at you give him a bag of scraps and no defense, yet you can still find a way to win games. Again, usually good vibes with the exception of our freaking receivers. Ignore that, but in general, good vibes. You got Andy Reid, still a great play caller, has big time problems in situations, but at the end of the day, he was the guy who developed what is the third greatest quarterback of all time. You can just keep going down this list. Tomlin still finds his guys to win a bunch of games, and even deals with the biggest divas ever, and still they find a way to win games, and the Steelers are probably going to go win the North this year. You look at all of these coaches, and it's very clear what they do. I still have no idea what Nick Sirianni does. And someone wants to be in the comments and enlighten me on that, by all means. Be like, oh, Nick Sirianni does this. He's involved in this offensive game plan. I don't know. Links be an article I can read. I'd love to. Because I had this question for years. And every time I just laugh and I'm just like, what does that guy do? What is he doing? Is he chilling on the sideline? Is he an Eagles fan? Is he just there? Make-a-wish kid chill on the sideline for the day? That's a fucked up joke. I don't know if I should keep that one in. But someone wants to enlighten me. By all means, please do. Off the Nick Sirianni head coaching rant, let's move on to the Chargers. Because the Eagles defense, I've sung my praise on the Eagles D. At some point, you're just going to give up some plays because you're out there all the time because the Eagles offense keeps 3-and-outing. Not much to say. For the Chargers, Justin Herbert finishes this game with like 140 yards, 12 of 26. If you look at the counting stats, not great. And he had an interception, he had a fumble. But for one, of course, he had a fully broken hand that I feel like 90% of quarterbacks in the league would miss that game. And everyone would be like, yeah, that makes sense. Totally. Don't blame you. Get healthy for next week. Instead, he plays. God knows how many hits. I want to say he was pressured 70% of the time, if that was the stat. Again, could be wrong. I'm not like a memorizer of stats. But takes a million hits. Gets that broken hand gets hit multiple times. Sometimes I would say dirty cheap shots, like potentially. Like I saw a few guys, quote unquote, punching for the ball, and it did not seem like they were particularly close to the ball. But he finds he was clutch on his legs. Got huge like third down runs to set up his offense. And of course, with the exception of the turnover, the interception, he got hit while throwing that ball. That was a failure by that. Would you like him to see that right tackle or the right edge rusher coming? Sure. But I'm going to be honest, most quarterbacks, I don't know how he survived that game and the toughness he had. And that overtime drive to even get 3 points on the board was huge, because I got to be honest, that might be the worst offensive line I've seen in a minute. It's up there. The Browns offensive line this year is really bad. The Titans offensive line at least has Pierre Skoronsky, but that one's pretty awful. Like, the Seahawks offensive lines with Russell Wilson and Geno for a time were really, really awful. But Herbert's offensive line this year is up there, man. Because the formula was simple, right? You have Rashawn Slater and you have Joe Alt. What that'll do is, we know what Mekhi Becton looks like with a really good guard or with a really good tackle next to him. So we bring him in from Philadelphia. And that at least in theory, shores up the right side. You, of course, have Rashawn Slater, and probably any guard there will suffice. And then you have Bozeman, who's like a veteran center. So what they instead have is 2 liabilities at tackles, because they are 3rd and 4th strings, at times 4th and 5th strings. So the guards are now exposed. So Mekhi Becton, who is kind of just a really good tackle merchant, because he's just this big, powerful guy who can push people around, when he's forced to start moving, it's not great. And so Becton's now one of the worst guards in the league, and is like inevitably going to get cut, and will probably sign back on the Eagles. Hopefully not this year. Just because I think he would be like perfect for the Eagles. And as a Niners fan, I don't want the Eagles getting perfect players. And their center is awful. Bozeman, it was way worse than I thought he would be. It's to the point where the Eagles called a simple 5-man pressure. Like, nothing fancy about it. I don't think anybody was stunting. Like, it was simple plays. Except they just have Nakobe Dean run through the middle. And the way any competent offense handles that is, Herbert maybe points at a guy's blitzing. Maybe they don't. Maybe he doesn't pick it up. Maybe it's a disguise. Who knows? And they see Nakobe Dean blitz, and then it's like, okay, we can pick him up, right? Either the running back can pick him up, or the center just doesn't double team on a certain guy, right? Because they don't have Jalen Carter, so it's not like they have any interior defensive linemen that can rush the quarterback. And yet, every freaking time, it felt like Nakobe Dean had a free run at him, at least in the first half. Dean finished with 2 sacks, a bunch of pressures, because Vic Fangio saw that. I was like, they just didn't block him? Okay, I'll do it again. Oh, they didn't block him again? Okay, I'll do that. Oh, they put a random running back on him? Okay, I'll get it. It was insane to watch. I couldn't believe it. The first 2 times they ran it, Nakobe Dean had the most instant free pressure on him, got a sack, and then one time forced a fumble. And nobody was there to stop him. That was like one of the most baffling things. It happens one time. It's like, okay, you didn't key the protection right, something happened. But to let that happen to you twice, and then have that still be an issue every time because Nakobe Dean's a hell of a blitzer. The way he's built, he's like a way shorter linebacker, but he's still really powerful. So he just trucks people. I cannot understand how their offensive line is this bad. And look, PFF is not the objective measure of everything. God knows, I know that PFF sometimes is just way wrong. But when you look at their line, it's like 36 out of 38, 35 out of 35, 33 out of 34. It's like you go down the line, it's just like about as bad as it could be everywhere. So all that offensive line talk to say, when Herbert has a game like that, I'm kind of impressed. Give him so much credit for toughing him out, making some pretty huge plays at moments. At the end of the day, getting some points, and it was enough for the team to win just because that Eagles offense is falling apart. Now, is that going to be enough to get it done in the postseason? Hell no. Hell no. But it's enough for them to win this game. So I'm going to give Herbert credit there. That was a type of game that was like, at some point, I don't care what the counting stats were, because you know what? I watched the game with my eyes, and I could tell you that Herbert played a pretty impressive game. I'm going to also really quick talk about the Chargers defense. That's what's getting lost in it because the Eagles offense is such a mess. Not many people have talked about just how good this Chargers defense has been. So Jesse Minter comes in last year with Jim Harbaugh. Let me double check that. I'm sorry. Jesse Minter hired. Jesse Minter came in. Yeah, he came in with Jim Harbaugh. I just want to double check that. But yeah, he comes in with Harbaugh. And last year, that Chargers defense was the number one scoring defense in football, right? And of course, they had Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa. Both those guys were running like insanely well whenever Bosa was healthy. Hell, they had other guys too. I don't know why the name's slipping, but that defense was great. Number one scoring defense in the league. And of course, they go into Houston in that wild card game and everything goes to shit. And Justin Herbert has 4 picks, right? But this year, even Mack gets injured for a while. They have other injuries on the defense side of the ball. And it's still a really good defense. I'm sorry, the names that we're reading out yesterday were crazy on the secondary. I talked about Tony Jefferson. He was like bounced around for scraps. I'm pretty sure no one, he might have been like retired as a coach. And he's out there getting game-winning interceptions in the secondary. I hadn't heard his name in so long. They got Tony Jefferson back there. Dante Jackson is back there. Dante Jackson, like the guy that the Panthers just like throw for scraps. I also need to double check Dante Jackson. Like that is that crazy to me. Yeah, it's on the Chargers. The way they're doing things is unbelievable. And for that defense to be that good, and you look at their pass rushers, Joey Bosa's gone. It's Khalil Mack and Tula. I'm sorry, the name is so hard. Tuli. I'm just gonna say Tuli. Tuli has been great. Like again, they're a really, really good team that can win with their defense. I've been so impressed by this Chargers defense. And Jesse Minter is, I want to say, he's a younger guy. I think he should get some head coaching looks this year because what he's done these last 2 years is so impressive. I really, really like him. So long and short of it, usually I do like a little summary, but this I'll be talking about this game for so long because I went on the Eagles rant. Long and short of it, both these teams will make the playoffs. No way around it. 100%. The Eagles need to either go split with the Commanders, lose to the Bills, and the Cowboys need to win out. Is the Eagles' path to missing the playoffs, right? Because that's the only way they can lose their division. They need Cowboys winning out, which is going to be hard just because it's hard to win 4 straight games at the NFL, even if the Cowboys' schedule is a little more favorable. Even though they still have to play the Chargers too. So Cowboys win out, and then the Eagles go 2-2. Is the only way they can miss it. So they're not going to. And you look on the Chargers side, and with this win, they're 9-4. They have a chance. They're playing Kansas City on Sunday, which is no way around it, just an under 500 team. I don't care that they're 5.5-point favorites. That is a team that has consistently lost to good teams. Kansas City, they play Kansas City, and then realistically, if they win 1 game, maybe 2, 1 game probably gets them in. 2 games, they're definitely in. So these teams will be in the postseason. When I tell you, any team is going to be so happy to play these guys. It is going to be, there are so many good-ass teams in the NFL this year that you look on your wildcard schedule and you see, oh, we get to play at Philadelphia. Oh, we get the Chargers coming in home. I'll live with that. I'll take that, especially on the Philly side. My God, you look at like the murderer's row. Outside, of course, on both sides, you would rather play the winner of course, the AFC North with the Ravens and the Steelers and whatnot, or the NFC South with Tampa or Carolina, because Tampa's a hot mess. We'll talk about them in a sec. Of course, you'd rather play them, but if that's not an option, 100% you'd rather play one of these 2 teams. What, like in the AFC side, you'd want to instead go, if you're a division winner, you want to let Houston into your building? Hell no. No. You want to let the Bills and Josh Allen into your building? Give me the Chargers. Give me the Chargers with no offensive line. Let's let our pass rushers at them. Let's see what happens. Because the Chargers' offensive line is so bad that I'm sorry, they just aren't winning a playoff game. I don't even know if their game will be close. And I like Justin Herbert a lot. I think Justin Herbert's a really good quarterback. I also think that no quarterback could really get playoff success in his position. Unless Joe Alt magically comes back. They're dead in the water as far as the postseason goes. They'll make it. They're just not doing anything. Whenever the bracket is official in a month, I will instantly pick against them. Granted, unless they somehow play like the AFC North team, then I'll have to think about it for a bit. And then on the Eagles side, like the NFC side, my God, you want to go up to LA? You want to play the Rams right now? Well, you would have a home game. That's the benefit. So far, your fans would take over. But you don't want to play LA. God, for sure as hell, do not want to play the winner of the NFC North, especially if it's the Packers. The way Jordan Love is playing right now, and that defense, you don't want to play. You don't play. It's like, I'll take the Eagles. I'll take the freaking Eagles, whose fans are probably going to boo them more than we ever could. Yeah, I'll take the Eagles. Let's go. Let's run that. So, either way, after watching that game, neither of these teams are doing anything in the postseason. Moving on, we have the Steelers and the Ravens. We are already at 40 minutes, by the way, and we've only been through 2 topics. Just insane things to talk about there. The Ravens and the Steelers. Now, I'm going to focus as not so much the game itself. No way around it. The Ravens got pretty fucked in this one. I'm sorry again for the language, but this is the type of week where it has to come out a bit. The Ravens got pretty screwed. Isaiah Likely definitely caught that ball. No way around it. He 100% caught that ball. There was more calls that went against the Ravens. But if someone told me at the beginning of the year, like the Ravens and the Steelers would be, it's not a shock to me that the game is close because it's the AFC North. Every game, I don't care if it's the Browns and like the 15-1 Ravens. Yeah, it's still going to be a weird ass game. That's just the way it works in this division. But when you tell me like these teams are very similar in terms of their quality, that's crazy to me. And if you look at it right now, that Baltimore defense has actually been a good bit better than you look weeks 1 through 5. Holy shit, that Baltimore defense was so bad. I actually had this little like reel or whatever you want to call it on like why I thought Baltimore, even at 1-5, would still win the division because I'm like, look at the way their quarterback's playing. Look at the way Lamar's playing. He's so good. And they won some games with Snoop Huntley, which you'd love to see that throwback. But Lamar comes back off his injuries, and he has been nothing short of atrocious, which I never thought I would say about Lamar Jackson. I've always been like a big Lamar defender just because of when he's at the peak of his powers, he is so good. 2024, last year's Lamar Jackson is one of the best quarterbacks I've ever watched in my life. He was unbelievable. Like he had 40 touchdowns, 4 picks. That's not the case right now. Whether that's the lingering hamstring, foot, hip, and God knows how. His injury list is so long, I just forget what injury it was. I just assume it's all messed up. Like, it's all bad. It's all needs a repair. It all needs some downtime. And right now, I'd argue for them to give it to him. Because he's just not the same. He can't run very well at all. That finally got introduced back in this Ravens game. And there was like a roar in the crowd when he scored. And when he ran that one in. Because he has not run the same at all. He's not throwing the ball very well. Which makes sense. Like I remember I was like here on this talk show, it's like, oh, Lamar has all these lower body injuries. Why can't he not throw the ball well? And it's like, throwing does require the whole body. I hate to say it. It's not actually just the arm. Crazy idea. You kind of need you gotta get the hips into it a little bit too. You gotta get everything in there in the throw. It's not just the arm. Sorry, I just thought that was funny. Yeah, like it's just bad. Clearly something is wrong with Lamar Jackson. And as much as I want to make it simple, it's like, oh, Lamar's playing bad. I also am like very understanding of the fact that he has a million injuries. I just think if he's this injured, they shouldn't play him. He has been a net negative to this team. And sometimes like when the Niners, I always hate to bring up Niners analogies, but like that's the team I know. The Niners and in their 2021 playoff run, Trent Williams was injured, like very, very injured, but yet he went out there. NFC Championship game, he's like, you know what? I have to be out there. And guess what? He should have sat his ass down for that game. Rams ate his lunch money. Von Miller, Aaron Donald, they got him. Cooked him that game. Leonard Floyd, by the way, that Rams defense that year, holy shit. Yeah, he got cooked. And in hindsight, yeah, you should have sat your ass on the bench. So sometimes great players are just too injured to play. And Lamar is flat out just needs to sit right now. Anyways, I like the fact that they're giving Derrick Henry the ball some. Still doesn't feel like they do it enough. They never do it on a consistent enough basis. That is always the thing with this team that pisses me off so badly, is that they just love to be inconsistent with him. Gave him 25 carries for 94 yards this game. But last week they gave him 10 for 60. I'll never understand this freaking Ravens team, the way they run the ball with Derrick Henry. Keaton Mitchell got injured in this game too, which was sad because Keaton Mitchell ripped off like a huge run. I love Keaton Mitchell so much, but they also just run with him very weirdly. Everything with Baltimore is weird. And it's crazy because John Harbaugh is coaching for his job. In my opinion, at least he should be. When you have that much talent on that team, like you go through the list of the Ravens players, holy shit, right? You have Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Ronnie Stanley, and on the defense side, Kyle Hamilton, Roquan Smith, Justin Madubuike. They have who Madubuike is injured this year. That is a big reason for why this Ravens team as a whole has not been good this year, or as good this year. Yeah, it just doesn't look right at all. So for the Ravens, it's gonna be an interesting final 4 weeks. I talked about playoff adjacent games last week on the podcast when we were bringing up how the Cowboys-Lions game was going to shake out. And I was like, that was our first real, like, quote-unquote playoff game in the regular season, because both teams, if they had lost that game, would be eliminated from the playoffs. And for the Ravens, we have Ravens-Bengals next week. Same deal. Whatever team loses that game is, for all purposes, eliminated. Granted, I didn't expect Philadelphia to look this bad, so technically the Cowboys aren't dead. But for the most part, they're dead. And had they just won that game, I think most people would pick them to win the division. So we'll see. We're getting another basically playoff game with Cincinnati and Baltimore. And let's move on to it from the Steelers side of things. Love them opening up the offensive bit and running some deep shots. Sorry. That was great. That was nice to see. I didn't know they could do that. I'm going to be honest. It made sense. It's like DK Metcalf's a really good freaking deep threat. Aaron Rodgers, and they say back in the day he used to throw a pretty good deep ball. I don't know. So loved seeing Aaron Rodgers absolutely rip some deep balls to DK Metcalf. Those were awesome to watch. Hell, we got the Aaron Rodgers running in a touchdown. So that was really cool to see. And for once, it was like watching a Steelers team. It's like, there's good vibes on this team. What's happening? Love to see them actually utilize their offensive strengths. Arthur Smith, the horrible. I hate Arthur Smith so much as an OC. But you know what? Give him credit. I'll give him credit for this game because they actually did the logical thing for the first time in like 3 months. So is this team more than a 9-8 Super Bowl? I don't know. By the way, when I say 9-8 Super Bowl, that's a urinating tree reference. If anyone watches urinating tree. But do I think they're more than just like a basic 9-8 team who's just going to get bounced around one? No. Like that's 100% what they are. I think this defense on paper had the talent for them to be more than that, but I don't know why. It's just not that good. This defense has not performed at all to expectations. They just have all these very high-paid veterans who just feels like they don't do all that much. Seems like they're just cashing their checks. So I like them using Jalen Ramsey more as like a free safety and nickel, by the way. That was a very good adjustment rather than him on outside corner. But that's been around for a while. They had a big injury in this game, Darnell Washington, who suffered a concussion. And Darnell Washington, man, I don't know how many backup tight ends are out there in the NFL that have that much of an impact on an offense. But Darnell Washington, when he does in the run game, what he can do some stuff in the pass game too because he's such an insanely just huge person. So he's in concussion protocol. Hopefully he comes out of it for that hopefully comes out of it for the Sunday night game. I think, yeah, it's Sunday night. They play the Dolphins. So they'll need him. He's a great player. And I've loved watching Darnell Washington, especially on tape. Go turn on some Darnell Washington tape if you have the time. It's fun to watch. It really is. So we'll see with Pittsburgh. I am intrigued to see how they finish out the year. And they play Baltimore one more time. Like right now, they have a really, really good shot at making the postseason. It's just that the thing that sucks for them is that they're going to play Buffalo. Like Buffalo is probably going to be the 5. I gotta take that back. Actually, I think Houston's going to have a really, really good end to the year. So maybe it's Buffalo or Houston. Just largely depending on how the Bills do against the Patriots this week. And either way, they're dead. That part's rough. Hopefully, although if they finish out the year strong, who knows? Moving on, we got. I just want to talk about the Chiefs really quick. Sorry, I know probably everybody's tired of people talking about the Chiefs. It's just that this is a crazy thing. The Chiefs went from every year Patrick Mahomes is the starter. We are making the AFC Championship game, bare minimum. Hell, and then half the time we're going to make the Super Bowl and win that. So, or not more than half the time we're going to win the Super Bowl, sorry. And more than half the time we're going to make it. Like only Burrow knocked him out once in the AFC Championship game and Brady knocked him out once. So, to see this team just flat out miss the playoffs is crazy. And I know there's some copium out there from the Chiefs fans. I see it on my Twitter timeline. I see the hope. They're like trying to get a little bit of it, trying to get a hit of that hope. And let me tell you, taking a hit of hope is a dangerous thing. It's a dangerous thing. That hopium hits. Because let me tell you that the crash is going to be way harder. And for any Chiefs fan, I was so insistent that the Texans are going to whoop them. I didn't even entertain it on the last podcast. I literally just said, yeah, their season's going to end in Houston or end against Houston. And yeah, that's exactly what it was. They got their ass kicked. And it was the worst statistical game of Mahomes' career. I would argue the Eagles game was worse in the Super Bowl. But statistically wise, yeah, by far the worst of his career. I've seen some people defend Mahomes for this game, and frankly, I don't understand that. Yes, his receivers dropped the ball a bit. He had 2 absurd 4th down drops where it's like, what the hell are you guys doing? And then he had the Kelsey drop that ended up being his last pick of the game. But those other 2 interceptions were so bad. they were awful. Yeah, he got Rashee Rice killed on this little crosser they threw that it was so obvious Petrie was going to kill him. And then Petrie killed Rashee Rice. It was, that hit was nasty. But I guess the defense of Mahomes would be, for my case, is just that Houston defense is going to do that to anybody. Look at Okay, I'm not a Texans fan. Obviously, I'm an Niners fan. I went to Houston. I had to watch my Niners get their ass kicked. But after going to that game, and of course, I was already high on the Texans before, but something about like after that game, I'm like, I really don't care what this team's record is. Hell, I barely care what their offense is doing. If their offense can get 17, that'd be great. That defense, that is the best defense in football. Seattle's up there. Seattle's great too. I'm not trying to shit on Seattle when I say that. But that defense, man, up in Houston, is so good. It's so good. I love watching them just go out there and hunt every week. It's like I get like old school watching. I feel like a young kid again watching that Houston defense. It feels like I'm watching like 2014 football, 2015 football. And I'm like, oh my God, we're watching killers out there. I love it because Petrie's hitting people. Derek Stingley is like the most shutdown of shutdown corners. He's so good. But I'd argue, I'm not sure if between him and Surtain who is better. I think they just have different roles. Like if you want just pure man-to-man shut down one player, you take Stingley. But if you play a bit of zone, Surtain shuts down the whole field. So it just depends again what you want, or that has half of the field, I should say. So it depends what you want. I think both teams are very happy with the corner they have. I don't think either of them would swap. That might get me some flack from Broncos fans. I don't know. But anyways, I'm just gonna move off that. Not the point. But Mahomes for the whole year. Getting back to the Mahomes thing. Mahomes for this year is not getting enough blame as he should. Because, frankly, he hasn't been good. He has like the 28th passer rating in the NFL. His offense with a myriad of good weapons. I'm not, fuck the revisionist history people. We're like, oh, if you look at his weapons, they're dropping the ball all this time and now Rashee Rice, who we claimed was a top 10 receiver, is actually not that good. And Xavier Worthy, who we literally, Nick Wright dropped a banner when the Bills traded down for the Chiefs to get Xavier Worthy. It's like, oh, look who you gave us now. And Xavier Worthy's he's just not that good at football. Like he ran a really cool 40. That's cool, man. You know who ran a really, really fast 40-yard dash? John Ross. John Ross is just not. Xavier Worthy is like the slowest fast guy I've seen. Like, yeah, he could run really fast if you give him a sec, but he doesn't have that Tyreek Hill acceleration. I'm not gonna accept the revisionist history of like, you look at all these weapons he gave us. Travis Kelce's supposed to be the GOAT tight end. And look at him. It's like, they're not very good. I'm sorry. They're not playing well at all. But anyways, I feel like we got sidetracked there. Mahomes needs some more blame for this year, right? He got outplayed in Denver against Bo Nix, and that was really the catalyst for this, right? Yeah, they lost that game in Jacksonville. They had a few hiccups here and there. But the time we really knew something was wrong is when they lost that game in Denver. Because it was like, oh, they're not winning the division anymore. Like, we knew then. Again, some people were like, copium. Taking a hit of that copium. Always a dangerous, dangerous play. We knew that they probably weren't going to win the division after that Broncos game. But now they're probably going to be out of the playoffs. I think they're already out of AFC West contention. A lot of blame needs to go everywhere. And they're going to have one of the more interesting off seasons of any team in the league. Because this team needs an overhaul. No way around it. Their pass rush is not particularly good. It was working really well against Houston, but that's because Houston's offensive line is really bad and Steve Spagnuolo is really good. So he was just calling these insane 7-man fronts that Houston just had no idea what to do. I'm not going to say George Karlaftis, after doing nothing all year, is actually back because he had like a good game against Houston when he had 6 other people rushing with him on every play. Like, no. Chris Jones was awesome in that game. Chris Jones turned it up for the playoff, like, because he knew it's a playoff game for them. Thing is, no one else got that memo, so it was just Chris Jones and Spags trying to turn up, and no one else did. Weird 4th down calls. Overall, Kansas City is effectively dead. We'll probably talk about them like once more on this podcast. Like if they lose the Chargers on Sunday, they will be officially eliminated. But if not, maybe they pop back up when we're talking about some hypothetical playoffs. We'll see. But for the most part, Kansas City's dead. And it's going to be weird to just not talk about them because it feels like half of my podcast, I talk about Kansas City in some form because they are the reigning dynasty. So it's going to be weird, especially we're not going to see them in January. It's going to be odd. It's going to be really nice. It's a lot more fun when discourse isn't around just the same one team. And we're going to see a new, we're going to see someone new out of the AFC. That's going to be cool. So yeah, I'm glad to not be talking about the Chiefs anymore. Moving on, we have some tidbits. I'm loving doing the tidbits in these podcasts for the last 10, 15 minutes. So the MVP stuff has been heating up. It's been like, for the most part, this is one of the more boring MVP years I can remember. Like, because it's just been such a lock between two guys for like a month. Like, yeah, I was an advocate for Jonathan Taylor against when the Colts were at like the peak of their powers. But since that has kind of fallen off, Jonathan Taylor is obviously not in it anymore. So we've just had Drake May and Stafford. Like sometimes Stafford had a bad game and the odds moved to Drake May, but then everyone forgot about that and it moved back to Stafford. Like we've had that flip-flop just this whole year. And for the most part, it's just been like Stafford as the favorite. I still think it should be Drake May just because if you look at the weapons he has, the turnaround, the fact that frankly, like Stafford just has so much for him, and the Patriots, like the main difference from them going 4-13 to this is just how good Drake May is playing. And of course the defense being turned around. But anyways, like Drake May has been awesome. But I will say this week and next week we'll decide the MVP. After week 16, Thursday night football, we'll know the MVP. There's nothing that will change in that time. Because week 15, this week, we have the Patriots playing the Bills, which this is going to piss off some Patriots fans. I was telling this to my roommate, he's a huge Patriots fan. If Josh Allen goes out there and has a really, really good game, like a signature Josh Allen game, he's winning that shit. Out of nowhere, he will win that. If you can get good betting odds on Josh Allen, like throw a flyer on it, $10, you can make yourself like $100, $150 if they have a really, really good game. I'm telling you, he's going to skyrocket up that odds ladder. Because not only did he have this absurd game against the Bengals, who, and I was planning on talking about that game, but it was just frankly an insane offensive game. Just go watch that. That was fun. Josh Allen, right, had that absurd game, single-handedly carried his team over the Bengals. Of course, 2 Burrow turnovers helps. But you get that, and then if that leads into beating the Patriots, who are the number 1 seed right now, have the most wins in the NFL, they're tied with the Broncos, to give it to them. You kind of have to. Especially the way, like, he's not getting any help around him. It feels like the play calling for Buffalo, I talked about this on the podcast a few weeks ago. It feels like everything's shifted to, okay, Josh Allen, you're just going to do everything now, and we're going to hope for the best. And it's led to some bad games like we saw in Houston. And it's led to some insane games like we saw against Cincinnati. Don't be surprised. But if the week 15 goes like the way it probably will, which is, one of the Bills or the Patriots wins that game, whatever, and Drake May and Josh have like a regular good game, then week 16 will be the last real week for Stafford to lose the MVP. Especially if Stafford has a really good game against the Lions. It might be hard for any of them to catch him. But week 16, we get the Seahawks and the Rams on Thursday night, which is an insanely huge game. The only way for the 1 seed really to be not the Rams is if they lose to the Seahawks in that game. Because then anything's up on the table. The NFC will go to a complete state of chaos. But against the second best defense in the league, if Stafford goes out there and cooks, the awards is. Nothing will change in the last 2 weeks, and Stafford will be the MVP. That is like, his odds will move to minus 1,000. 100%. So that's something to look out for the next 2 weeks. Last thing I want to talk about, last tidbit. I don't watch college football. I'm going to be honest. I don't. I started watching a bit this year, Northwestern football, which was hard to watch. I'm going to be fully honest. Preston Stone, not the greatest quarterback out there. But outside, I turn on some UC games because my brother goes there, so that's pretty cool. If like I see an insane matchup, I see like Georgia, Alabama, or if like I was watching a bit of Indiana, Ohio State, I'm like, okay, I'll turn that on. Just because like I love good football. I'm not going to judge it. I love good football. But this shit about the committee makes no sense. This is one of the stupidest things I have seen in a long time. Because, reminder, I'm going into this blind, right? I don't know how this playoff shit works. I just remember, I've heard that they changed it to 12 last year. And all I know is, like, the only time I watch college football is the postseason, right? Because I'll keep an eye on all the postseason games. I always make sure to check out the Natty. I always make sure to check out the bowl games before then, because those always seem to be way better than the Natty. But we go into that. And then I look at the list, and it's like, okay, let me check the list. So Alabama is in at 9. I swear to God, they lost by 30 points. Okay, whatever. I go, who the hell is Tulane? Tulane? And I'm like, okay, Tulane. And then I see James Madison University. Who the hell is James Madison University? And then I keep looking, like, where the hell is Notre Dame? Huh. And then it's like, well, Miami. Oh, Miami didn't play on championship weekend. They're probably not in. Miami's in. Okay. Well, BYU, I mean, if playing in the championship game doesn't matter, then there's no way the championship game can hurt you, right? We saw Alabama, so BYU should be in. BYU isn't in there. Huh. So I talked about this with Lane Kiffin, right? That was one of my tidbits last week. Even though I don't talk college, I have my co-host, Jonah, who does the college shows. If you haven't checked those out, he does that. But like I talked about Kiffin because it was an insane story, right? And I wanted to see, I'm not sure if I had an in-depth discussion on this, but I was basically just saying like, the point I'm trying to make, I don't know how there isn't like a set schedule in college. That's crazy. The fact that there's a set schedule and a set of rules. At some point, the college needs to NFL a bit. Like, it needs to turn a little bit into the NFL. Why the hell is it just a group of people deciding things? Whose call is that? Why is it just like a group of 50 dudes just sitting around like, oh yeah, this team's in, this team's not in? Have tiebreakers. Make it easy. There was a really good thought exercise on the Rich Eisen show. Love that show. Love the Rich Eisen so much. But it was like, okay, hypothetically, if you're the committee for the NFL, which teams are you picking? You go through the exercise, you realize that there's probably like 19 teams that deserve it. And then you just start going on gut, right? It's like, oh, well, the Cowboys have played good this last month, but their record isn't good. Do I let them in? Like, no, this is stupid. Why is it this? There's so much subjectivity here. Have a system. Have rules. Have a schedule that comes out. If people were like, oh, well, Texas, got fucked over because they played Ohio State week 1. Cool. Then don't make it so that teams can play like shitty teams at the beginning to inflate their record. I don't know. There just has to be a better way to fix it. There has to be. It's so stupid. The fact that they don't have a commissioner, they don't have a solid commissioner, set of rules, tiebreaker. The playoffs should not be a thing where it's like, okay, well, let's wait to see who lets us in. Why? My God, have a system. I don't know what that system looks like. All I can point to is like the NFL system's pretty good. If you want to do that. I don't know how divisions and stuff like that would work. Maybe it's like you just pick the best team from the Power 5, and then from there you have wild cards that compete. That'd be cool. But all I know is that what's going to happen is that December 20th, James Madison and Tulane play Oregon and some other Ole Miss, I think, respectfully. And I'm not going to be watching those games. I know I'm going to check the score at the end of the first quarter, and some team's going to be up 21-0. It's probably not, and I'm going to limit, it's probably not James Madison or Tulane. Yeah. I'm very more interested. If you got this far into the podcast, I'd be more curious to see your thoughts on this. Maybe I don't watch college football that much. Maybe I don't know anything. Maybe I just don't know any ball when it comes to college. And you know what? If that's your answer, 100% respect that. But if you also think that this shit is crazy, by all means, I would love to hear your opinion on it. That is all. We have been going for over an hour. My God. We had an hour 8 podcast last week. We have an hour 1 this week. It has been phenomenal to talk with you guys. And again, we are going to be back home next week, so the set will change again. I thank you guys so much for listening. This has been so much fun. We are 7 subscribers away from 100 on the channel. These little short videos I made, some of them have been doing really well. So it's been getting some new subscribers. People have been listening to the segments. Some people check out the podcast. However you listen, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And yeah, with that being said, I hope you all have a phenomenal rest of your day.